Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics. Gang, what's up? Just Ehren right here, Question Period Canada. How y'all doing? We've been watching and learning all about Canadian federal politics, trying to share that with you. We've got all of these crazy videos to watch from the House Commons, from committee, from the scrums, whatever. There's many sources, but let's take a peek at this one. It's off the rails. All the videos here are. Let's take a peek.
I rise today to continue my response to the speech from the throne. As you know, I will use this time to go over Trudeau's legacy. Today I will focus on another important component of that legacy, the cultivation of a divided Canada. I know many of you will be tempted to leave the chamber as I speak, but I want you all to know, colleagues, I am not doing this for the benefit of those of you in the chamber. I am doing this for the benefit of the almost 1 million viewers that viewed the last speech I made about Trudeau's legacy. Wow. I am doing it for the 6 million plus Conservatives that voted for the Conservatives and a different Prime Minister in the last federal election.
It'll be 8 million next
And I am doing it for the 3 million extra voters that want to vote for something other than Justin Trudeau in the next election.
Hear, hear, hear.
Colleagues, in 2015, Justin Trudeau and the Liberal Party formed government with the promise of national unity and sunny ways. And as you will see, their record is one of dismal failure. It would be unfair to not acknowledge that the world is very divided. In the past decade, the political climate, certainly in Western democracies, has seen the embrace of radical ideologies, the doctrines of which have been adopted into policy. The rise of identity politics is dividing citizens by gender, by race, religion, and perceived level of oppression. The narrowing of acceptable thought punishes those who fall outside the lines. This has spurred populist revolts by those who feel abandoned and disregarded by the established elite groups. More and more people define themselves in opposition to the system, which further fuels division. Canada has not been immune to those forces. However, a leader with any integrity or sense would acknowledge the political climate, remind citizens of who we are as a country, our common goals and principles, and focus on moving forward with policies that could bring us together. Justin Trudeau, colleagues, has done precisely the opposite. He plays the game of division by taking a very predictable ideological stance in every quarrel and then literally insulting and dismissing those who disagree with him, all the while preaching a vacant message of unity. In 2024, it should be clear to every Canadian, our sunny ways Prime Minister has left the country far more divided than he found it. Is there a person in Canada who can honestly say we are more united and unified than we were prior to Justin Trudeau taking office? Colleagues, our country is a mess, and I fear that this is not by accident. It would appear that Trudeau's divide and conquer politics are intentionally stoking flames of division. It is a calculated attempt to distract Canadians from the failures of his government. If they hate their neighbour, if they are divided into distinct group identities, they can blame the other for Canada's problems. If we are afraid, maybe we will forget about the myriad of crises happening simultaneously throughout our country, which has leaked into their own homes, including their inability to pay the bills and put food on the table. When recently trying to defend the indefensible in this particular case, the ill-timed carbon tax increase, Trudeau stated, and I quote, "My job is not to be popular." No, Prime Minister, it is not. It is also not your job, Prime Minister, to cultivate polarization and ostracize swaths of Canadian population who disagree with you. John Ebbetson wrote in the Globe and Mail in October, "Every Prime Minister's highest priority should be to leave the Federation stronger, or at least not weaker, than they found it." By that measure, he notes, Mr. Trudeau's tenure has been a failure. Honourable Senators, allow me to walk you through some of the many ways our national unity has unravelled during and under Trudeau's watch. The COVID-19 pandemic was indeed a challenging time for leaders around the world. Their citizens were dealing with the loss or fear of loss of loved ones, the economic uncertainty as a result of lockdowns, the mental health impact of isolation, the inability to mourn the loss of family members together, and the list goes on. When the vaccines eventually came, so did the onslaught of fear. Many were left wondering, how effective are these vaccines in preventing transmission? What are the risks? Is it safe and advisable for children to be vaccinated? There was a wide range of medical opinions on this. The CDC and the WHO and public health officers were making recommendations on what they perceived to be the most complete and relevant data available. Yet other scientists and health professionals were making different recommendations. Many Canadians found the research and data presented by alternative sources compelling and were not willing to blindly trust their respective public health authorities. This was compounded when previous recommendations and assertions by public health officials were later deemed to be incorrect or no longer advisable. Many health experts warned of a shadow pandemic with respect to mental illness, as well as the detrimental impacts on children and their learning, given the school closures. The growing division was palpable. Some saw those who did not want to get the vaccine as nothing but a group of uneducated anti-vaxxer, religious radicals, and conspiracy theorists. Some on the other end of the spectrum would post pictures on social media, mocking individuals wearing masks outside, or would refer to anyone following the CD guidelines as sheep. By the end of 2021, the Public Health Agency of Canada announced the requirement for essential service providers, including truck drivers, to be fully vaccinated by January 15th of 2022. These mandates would prevent an estimated 26,000 unvaccinated truck drivers who are required to regularly cross the border from doing their jobs. As we all know, the response from truck drivers across the country is what came to be known as the Freedom Convoy. Protesters occupied the downtown core of Ottawa, requesting to speak to and to hear from the Prime Minister, and they announced they would not leave until the mandates were repealed. While thousands of protesters certainly supported the concerns of the truckers, the overall protest quickly became a broader call to action on COVID-19 restrictions generally and their impact on Canadians' autonomy, mental health, and the freedom to earn a living. The truckers, who ironically were praised by Justin Trudeau in the early days of the pandemic, along with an empty "Thank a Trucker" hashtag, ultimately became Trudeau's political target and enemy. Truck drivers, who spend their days alone in the cabs of their vehicles, suddenly became a threat to public health if they were unvaccinated. Of course, when asked in the House of Commons to produce data linking truck drivers to COVID-19 infections in Canada, neither the Health Minister nor the Chief Public Health Officer were able to do so. These men and women were literally fighting for their right to work. They were exercising their right to protest in the nation's capital. And they had come together with other concerned Canadians to stand in opposition to government overreach that was becoming pervasive. A leader with any capability or integrity may look at the stark divide plaguing the nation and respond by acknowledging the struggle among Canadians and the difficulty of navigating, changing, and conflicting information, and may remind Canadians that we have a common goal, and that is to minimize the risk of death and illness among Canadians and to resume life as usual, including the ability to earn a living as quickly as possible. So, what did Trudeau do? Did he acknowledge the fears of many Canadians who were concerned about their mental health, their ability to pursue a livelihood, or their autonomy with respect to health care choices? Did he give the protesters who had traveled all this way, who had felt left out of the conversation, the opportunity to be heard? No. He ran from the problem, quite literally hiding from Canadians and waiting for the right opportunity to attack. As is the case with nearly every large-scale protest, there were a few bad actors who showed up to promote a message of hate that had nothing to do with the protest itself. As soon as the media gave those hateful individuals the time of day, the Prime Minister pounced. The media reports were all Trudeau needed to dismiss and name-call truckers and the millions of Canadians supporting them. It is still hard to believe 2 years after the fact, even for the Prime Minister, who has a terrible track record of division, that he called millions of Canadians racist, misogynist, insurrectionist, and a fringe minority. His words. He even called their views intolerable, and in a televised speech asked Canadians, how can we tolerate these people? Let me repeat. The Prime Minister asks about those who oppose him, how can we tolerate them? Of course, the Prime Minister knew that the few racist idiots did not speak for or represent the valid concerns of truckers. But rather than using his position of power to unite at the height of COVID-19 tensions, he dismissed and disregarded the concerns of Canadians who felt left out of the conversation, who felt powerless and desperate, and he insulted them. He intentionally painted them all with the same brush in an attempt to justify his failure to engage with them. As Jennifer Leywitz said in a special to the National Post, it was like watching a leader pour gasoline on already burning fire.
So gang, that's another wild one right there. I'm not gonna try to tell you what to think about what you just saw. You're a Canadian, you can make up your own mind. But I do want you to come back and watch some more of the wild videos that we collect. We've got this network happening now. And also, if you're interested in a live chat in a fun stream, we watch the question periods daily, all of them. It's a great community. It's a fun chat. Come check us out. Like, subscribe, get notified, all that fun stuff. Comment. I love the comments. And especially just come back. I just want you to come back. Not going to try to sell you anything. Here we go. We're just learning about Canadian federal politics right here, Question Period Canada. We have a million questions, almost no answers, but we'll be showing you the videos. So like, subscribe, get notified, share, all those fun things. Check out one of the other videos. We've got a good thing going on here, liking and learning, and sharing with you. That's what we're doing. right here. Question Period Canada. Catch the next video. It'll be wacky.